Okay, we are heading out to the engineering again. And in the previous video I mentioned that I was trying to print one of the easel back robots at the 45-degree angle with all of the supports and everything else, everything that Choo Choo Box wanted. And I could tell when it came off the machine that it had a failure at the very bottom of the body, but the rest of it was there. So I went ahead and let it completely finish. And then I decided, well, let's do another experiment with it. Let's try a water cure. Now, curing your resin prints, once you've washed off in your alcohol bath most of the gunk, if you stick that into your bucket, in this case I'm using this one that I've already talked about. This is the UV light shining down in there. And the part is down in there. Let's see, let's turn off the UV light and set it here. And you got the part here, and you can see all the stand-up. See, this looks promising until you look down here and you go, oh, that's the bottom of the body, and there should be a plate there. It's all folded up inside for some reason. So apparently some of their supports let loose compared to the suction power of the plate moving up and down, and it's a failure. But curing in a water bath is supposed to give you a stronger and better cure, and not supposed to be sticky. Shouldn't have to treat it again. So you normally got to go back and wash them one more time in alcohol to get the sticky, sloppy feeling off the outside of them. And apparently the water blocks the oxygen from getting to the part, and the oxygen's what inhibits proper curing. I don't know. Here's my modified dryer into a room heater. I kind of talked about it on another video that someone else was doing on it. I left all the safety switches and the timer and all that stuff intact. Rerouted the blower so that sucks air in through the cleaning chamber and blows it out. I can heat up this room fairly quickly. It's kind of expensive, but what I'm using for right now is to kind of blow dry this part a little bit. Because what I thought we'd do is break off some of the supports and see what the inside looked like where the motor normally fits, and let's just find out what it did there. Because that's actually what I was mainly interested in. Now, I did print this in the in a larger layer step, 0.1, so we should see some layer lines on this. And the reason I printed it in that step is because if I printed it at the 0.05 setting, the standard setting on that machine, it would have taken almost 9 hours because of the Z height. You know, resin printers take longer the higher the part is. And putting this at a 45-degree angle made it take almost 9 hours. If it had been laying flat on the bed, it was like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, somewhere in there. So that's why I went to the higher layer height, because I wasn't particularly interested in the beauty of it. I was more interested in, can I print it at 45? Will it work? And if it does, I'm trying to figure out where I can put this camera. Let me close up these legs. Everybody hang on here for a rough ride. You're spinning, you're twisting, you're kicking around. All right. Let's see what we can see now. Of course, I can't see the viewfinder now, but maybe I need to move it down here under this light. Get more light on it. Alright. So, where are my nippers? Let's start nipping on this thing and let's find out what we can see. See, I'm not worried about breaking it. It can't be used anyway. I just want to really see the insides and see what the supports did or didn't do in there. I guess I could just run it through the bandsaw and cut all these off. But already started nipping, so the ones on the outside edge, because I figured they'd be the ones that would break the body if I just started yanking on it, like I planning on doing here. Okay, we're getting there. And I have no idea what it was going to look like on the inside. So here we have an inside view. Obviously these supports would have to be pulled out yet, but this was the area that I mainly wanted to see how good that turned out. And then also I wanted to see this edge. Let's run a flat file on that edge. Okay. So I got most of that out of the way. Just trying to take off all the support tits. I don't want to make it any shorter, like so. How does that look on a flat edge? Well, actually, it looks pretty good on a flat edge. It ended up being fairly flat. So it looks like putting on the supports at an angle would work if we could figure out why this end, see this whole piece here, is pushed in and distorted instead of being straight. I know the file's good. I checked it before, and you can see where it was starting to bugger up here. Same way that did over here. So it actually looks pretty good. And I don't have one of those little gear motors out here to sit in here to see how the tolerances ended up. But it looks good to my eye. It's not buckled. See, if you wanted to clean that trough so the motor can sit in there all the way, then just get yourself a flat file and do a little of this. You can clean what's left of the support tips out of there. Pretty smooth, a lot smoother than the printing it flat. I have to do a lot more cleanup on those. So this does look promising. Like I say, I don't know what to do about that part. How to fix it or why it happened, don't know. Maybe just even more supports, or maybe instead of doing it at a complete 45, maybe I should pick something in between. Maybe I should do say a 30-degree angle or something and see how that goes. But not bad. I'm surprised. And the water cure doesn't hurt. I'm thinking it helps. It doesn't feel sticky, because normally at this point after I've UV cured it, you go back into your clean alcohol and give it one more wipe down to get the last of the sticky residue feeling off, and doesn't feel too bad. Basically, as I've stated in the other videos, it feels like Bondo, cured Bondo. So there you have it. Here's the monstrosity of supports that it generated. You go, wow, that's a lot of wasted resin. Yes, it is. That's why I try to avoid supports when possible. And you can see it mounts the supports on this raft that has a curled up edge, and that's so that you can get the chisel under there to break this part loose from the build plate. And this part's flat, so this all stuck onto the build plate just fine. The adhesion was good on the build plate, because remember, it prints this way. So the failure, and it was all put together. Can I get this camera aimed up a little higher? So it was all put together about like that on the build plate as it was going down. So the last thing to print was this edge right here. Be the last thing that would have went. So this failure part here was very early on. That would have been in the first, well, that far up, about the first hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at the most, when it really went bad. This part being curled back, though, this would have happened to happen sooner, because you'd lay that edge, and it'd try to peel it free, and then it would come back down. I don't know. I haven't seen enough failures of this type to be able to tell you on a resin printer why that's that way and what I could do to keep it from happening, because there were plenty of supports at that end. I mean, a lot of them are broken off now from when I just ripped this thing loose, but you can see them all. Maybe there just needed to be even more supports. And when you select the support function, you have the choice of light, medium, and heavy, and what they're referring to is the size of the contact point where it contacts your print. Now there's also a choice on the shape of the contact point, whether it's a cone or whether it's a stump, and maybe I should be trying a different shape on the end of the support, since something like this, since all of the supports are on the inside and on this outside edge where it's going to be easy to clean and no one can see it. I mean, if this was a cosmetic part that you were doing for gameplay or something like that, then you might want the really small contact point. But on something like this, I just want to make sure that the support stays attached and does its job. So, I don't know. Haven't got much resin left. I've gone through 2 jars so far. I have a little bit left. Well, I have enough to try it again, so we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll just save it for something that I actually need rather than just wanting to experiment.